Hey Gregory, how's it going?
Hello, Farhan. Nice to see you.
Yep, nice to
Just a
see you.
moment. I'm going to change the browser.
Sure,
Uh,
sure. No problems. There was a problem with the Google Hangouts, which is why it took me time.
okay, I'm here.
Welcome. Welcome back. Yeah. No, I was saying there was a problem with the Google Hangouts. They were telling me Hangout already started, something like that. So it was difficult to join, but
I
I'm glad
guess
you
the
made it.
situation it happened not the first time for you.
Yeah, yeah. It's something that causes big problems for us, but yeah, how was your day, Gregory? How's everything going?
Okay, I have class with Joe, and this was very hard for me because he's from Texas. Taxes and different access and cautiously understand him. Um, I used to understand you and James, two teachers, but
Uh-huh.
I know I have tried to other teachers uh, because understand different accents, not
Yeah.
only not only specific.
Different accents take time, Gregory, absolutely. I mean, even people who have lived in the United States for maybe 10, 15 years, they are used to always speaking English and hearing other people speak English. Even they have a difficult time when it comes to accents like the accent from Texas and some other
From state
states.
to other state, yeah. I
Yeah, yeah.
understand this.
Yeah, especially in the South, also in the South, so near Texas, we have a bunch of other states. The one is Alabama, then there are a few other states we say the deep South of the United States. They really
You
have
you have problem with your traveling now, with your movement from states to states, no?
no, no, it's okay for me. No big problems. Just I guess I'm used to the accents, but maybe for people who like my parents, for example, they didn't grow up here.
Hmm.
So for them, they have a difficult time, for example, understanding someone from Texas. My mom maybe will not be able to understand someone from Texas. Even though she speaks English fluently, she would always be confused. So yeah, we have differences when it comes to different accents like
I
that.
understand that when I live in Soviet Union, I was born in Ukraine and we speak Russian in our city. But when I come to Moscow, it was almost different. And I changed my accent because I was young and it was easy for me.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but now very hard. You know how you old is more difficult.
Yeah,
All
it gets much
changes,
older.
except all changes in the environment is very difficult
Yeah, yeah.
with age.
Yeah, especially I think, well, would you say you speak Russian with an accent from Moscow
Is
then?
I was born in Ukraine,
Uh-huh.
in city Donetsk, and
Uh-huh.
we speak Russian in this city, but it was no, not so Russian. This was something in this area, a little bit Ukraine Russian.
Uh-huh.
And when I go to Moscow and live in Moscow, it was hard to me to change my accent to perfect Russian. In Moscow, it's perfect. It's standard.
Yeah. But I think Ukrainian is still closely related to Russian, right?
Now it's independent, completely independent. In the Soviet Union, it was one of republic, but very big republic, and they have um, no powerful.
Yeah. No, but
Always,
but But I think the Ukrainian language, though, right, Gregory, is the Ukrainian language similar to the Russian language? Or
Yes, it's similar. It's very close. It's the same roots,
uh-huh.
but no, not so
Mm.
similar. They understand each
The
other. Like
rivals.
sorry,
Oh, go ahead, Gregory. I'm sorry.
for Spanish understand Portuguese, like something
Uh-huh.
like that, but not so much.
Yeah. So they were partly similar. People maybe understood some, didn't understand others. Makes sense. That's actually very interesting. I had a friend in school many years ago. One of the girls in my high school class was from Ukraine, and I mean, very beautiful girl. We all knew her because of her beauty. But I never got a chance to learn about Ukraine. I think she was from Kiev. Um, Maybe she spent some time there, maybe a few years, and then she came here. So her accent was still, she had a Ukrainian accent, a little bit, slight Ukrainian accent when she spoke English. But it was a really nice experience to have that different kind of, different cultures in our high school. So that's all I know. Maybe one day I can visit, yeah, Ukraine. I think it's easier to see than
It's a
Russia.
very big country. Uh,
Uh,
these are more than three France.
oh wow, such a big country.
Big country. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome, Gregory. Jose, how's it going? Welcome, man.
Hello, Farhan. Hello, Gregory. How you doing?
Hello,
Sorry
Jose.
for the interruption.
Oh,
I
no,
was,
that's fine. I was having trouble with Google Hangouts. I was pressing start Hangout, and it wasn't doing anything until maybe 10 minutes. So if you guys were trying to log in, I really apologize for that. But yeah, Jose, how's life going? How are things in Lima?
yeah, everything's okay. We're starting the spring. We are leaving the cold at least now.
Hmm.
That's why everybody's getting happy. Everybody's drinking.
Everybody's drinking.
Sadly, yeah, people like to drink here, to drink here, and they use any kind of excuses. Now, now they drink because the spring is starting.
Really?
Cheers!
I would imagine people would not drink in the spring because you can go outside, you can have different activities.
Yeah, but they drink anyway. Doesn't matter the
What
excuse.
what's he drinking?
Only
Whiskey?
beer. No, beer,
Ah,
beer. People
beer.
people loves beer here, and some of them drink. We have a national drink. It's called pisco.
It's
It's
called
like,
pisco.
yeah, for example, in Russia they have vodka. There's another, don't know where's the whiskey, and we have the pisco. Pisco, it's very ancient um liquor or drink here,
What
but
is making from
it's it's made on grapes.
rice?
No, grapes.
Ah,
Talking about.
grapes. Ah,
Yes, and for example, maybe 15 years ago, the people, well, we used to drink a lot of pisco, but they didn't, uh, they didn't took this as a big deal. People thought that was a drink for poor men, but now the people have found the important that it is this drink, and now everybody is proud of this drink in my country. It is winning many prizes in the world for for don't know his quality. Well, don't know what's the prize about, but
how
it's
strong is it?
it's strong. Believe me, yeah. We have
How, for
it's
example, vodka has standard 40%
yeah, more or less.
alcohol.
Yeah, this is 35 more or less, 37, 35.
Mm.
Yeah, For example, there's a national drink or cocktail we call pisco sour. Yeah, it's delicious, but if you take 3 cups, you're done. So better drink only one, and if you're brave, two. Three is not for brave; it's for crazy people.
You fall asleep after 3 cups.
Of course, you're gonna lay down wherever you are, and if you are in a risky place, you're gonna be assaulted. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so better don't.
That's awesome, guys. Pisco and all these other kinds of things you guys are talking about. What kind of alcohol do you drink, Gregory, when you normally maybe at a party or if you're just at night after dinner, do you drink wine or
No, according Russian tradition, we drink vodka, a lot of vodka, but we like cognac.
cognac
Uh,
also?
very good Armenian cognac, uh, and all kinds of whiskey. But I don't drink a lot of. I don't like to be drunk. But when our company come together, it's very strange. All drunk and one not drunk. So I have to be. But I have a great excuse. I say I go to drive, and rules in Israel very very strong about that. Uh, a little alcohol and you lose your license. So I have a great excuse not to drink so much.
Hmm. You know, in the United States, Gregory, we would call you the designated driver, right? We have something in we use in American English when we talk about drunk driving and we talk about everybody. Whenever there's a party, one person should not drink because that person is the designated driver. Everybody decides from before, okay, Gregory doesn't drink, Gregory will be the designated driver. So everybody else can get 100% drunk, crazy, because they know that Gregory will drive them home. You
Uh-huh.
know, yeah. So it's a. I was always the designated driver for my friends because I don't drink. So everybody said, oh, Farhan's here. Okay, he's the designated driver. It's just automatic.
Why you don't drink? Because you religion or
Yeah, partly religious, but I also think that since I've never tasted it, it was never in my house. It was my parents never drink, or they never drank. They don't drink, so I never saw it in my house. I just no interest in it. And then in the United States, we have such a strong anti-drunk driving culture, and also just in the college, in the college years, Gregory, believe me, I mean, social drinking becomes a kind of epidemic. People drink
Mhm.
to get
I
drunk,
believe
you
I
know.
believe you. I believe you.
Yeah, so
Uh,
seeing that stuff, I was like, wow, this is ridiculous. I mean, I saw my friends, they would spend all of their money on drugs and alcohol, right?
Drugs, bad. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah. They would waste all their money on drugs and alcohol. Alcohol was what started it, right? And then they went to drugs, they went to other kinds of drugs, different parties. Every party is about alcohol. In the universities in the United States, every party has alcohol, right? So things
It's
like
bad.
that. And people don't respect it here, so why should I respect this drink? Unfortunately. But those, of course, who grow up with a good understanding of alcohol. I mean, I have friends who respect alcohol very much. Their parents drink alcohol, but limited. They are responsible. They taught their children how to be responsible. Their children are responsible. So it's good to be with that group. But the average Joe Schmo in the United States, we say the average Joe, he or she is, you know, in the university, I'm saying, right? He or she is just life is devoted to drinking. You get out Friday night, you get drunk. Saturday morning, you wake up with somebody. Who knows who you were with last night, right? It's actually part of the fun to drink and get drunk and go to parties and have people and misbehave with you. It's just part of the society here.
Terrible.
Yes, exactly, Gregory. I agree. I agree with you. But a lot of people would disagree, unfortunately. So, guys, welcome, all of you. Saul, good to see you again. How are you?
Hi, Farhan. You are late today, eh?
Yeah, things were happening with my Hangouts, so I was clicking the button constantly, and then I actually got into this Hangout at 7:10, so about 10 minutes late. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. We're gonna jump into the grammar real quick, and today we're gonna be discussing something that's pretty simple. Um, you know, Subject-verb agreement, guys, is as simple as saying that when you have a subject, you have to make sure that the verb that goes along with that subject is the appropriate verb, right? It's really as simple as that. We're not gonna say I I doesn't go to school, because doesn't or does is used only for he and she, right? Um, for I, it would be don't, right? I don't do whatever, right? That's the lesson. Honestly, there are no other things for me to discuss besides just asking you guys when we have certain types of verbs, right? So there are certain nouns, excuse me, that require singular verbs, right? So I wanted to go over some of the exceptions to the rule, right? For example, the word news, right? When we see the word news, news is actually singular, right? In Spanish, if I'm not mistaken, they say las noticias son, right? You guys actually make it a plural. The news are almost, right? But in English, the word news is actually singular. So, for example, the nightly news is on at 6 o'clock, right? Is on at 6 o'clock, not the news are on, right? So news is considered singular. Many other words that kind of have that ending s sound, right? That are technically plural, right? They act as singular in English. So, for example, mathematics, right? Her mathematics, uh, her mathematics looks very difficult, right? Maybe somebody is working on some kind of math problem, right? Her mathematics looks very difficult, right? Um, and then we can also say, in the case of diseases, actually, right? Some diseases end in an S. For example, measles, mumps, right? These are some, pretty horrible diseases. They always act as singular, right? So my friend's measles is very severe, something like that, whatever. So all of these are examples of single, right? And then we have actually, well, before I move on, any questions about those examples, those exceptions that are singular even though they look plural?
I only wonder how can you say news in plural?
It's just news, actually.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know, Sal. Unfortunately, in English, when we say news, it's always in that plural form. I mean, it's always it's always news, regardless of singular or plural. I don't think there is a way to pluralize news in English. I think it's considered singular when we say news, and we never say news
for example, I
can
can
say so is
say
we can say news reports.
news report. For example,
Yeah, go ahead, Sal.
in
Yeah.
your previous example, you say that that we need to use is with news because it's singular. So if I want to say the news are is bad.
hmm
So how can I say the news in plural in a sentences, but making a reference that the news are plural. I don't know if you understand.
Yeah, no, no, no. It's a good question. So in English, we would just use news, right? There is no way to make news plural in English unless we include another word, right? So if you want to talk about multiple news, maybe multiple news items that you heard or multiple pieces of news that you heard, you can say, for example, news reports, or you can say, I heard an interesting piece of news. I heard some interesting pieces of news, right? So the word news stays news. never changes, right? You
Okay.
cannot write newses ever. So
If if I saw a lot of news in the television, for example, and I want to say, okay, today I saw a lot of news in TV. The I don't know.
yeah, today, no, no, Saul, this is a good question, right? Today I watched a lot of news on the TV or on TV.
without
Yeah.
without the is s.
Yeah, well, if you want to say, yeah, without the ES, right? So today I watched a lot of news on TV. That's it. Just news.
Okay.
Yeah, because we never, ever, 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 ever have newses, right? If you want to say multiple, you can say, for example, news reports. I watched three different news reports on TV, or I learned three pieces of news, or three news pieces. Even though it's a little bit more, it's rare. We don't actually use that. I would say news report is probably the most common way to directly make it plural.
Okay.
Yeah, good question though, Sal. It's not a bad question. I know that English is a crazy language. We have these exceptions. Uh, and then so there are some other verbs, there are some other nouns, guys, that look like a plural, but they always use a singular, right? So I'm sorry, I had it backwards. There are some other nouns that look like they should be singular, but they are actually plural. So the opposite of this scenario, right? So for example, the word scissors, right? Scissors, you have just one pair of scissors, right? You have one pair of scissors that to cut something, right? But we use plural. So we say, for example, those scissors are mine, right? You're only talking about one pair of scissors, but you say those scissors are mine. You don't say those scissors is mine, right? So that's one example. Another example, guys, is when we say pants, for example. Pants are considered plural in English, even though it's just one pair of pants, right? Pair of shoes also. Those shoes are mine. Those pants are mine. You could only be talking about one pant, right? But in English we would say these pants are mine. It's because there are two legs, just like with the scissors we have two blades. With the shoes we have two shoes, right? So those ones we make plural. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't make sense, it makes sense, right? Because
Mhm.
English has no rules. So, I mean, it has rules, but it has so many exceptions, right? So even though it might not be logical, right, this is what the situation is in English, unfortunately. So I wanted to just ask you guys very briefly, because today we're going to be talking about
Briefly.
violence. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Saul.
Oh, no, no, no. I forget that I have the microphone on.
No problems. So I was gonna today, just to get us thinking, guys. Today we're gonna talk about violence in Mexico, right? Kind of a disturbing topic, but I felt that it was something that would be interesting to learn about because it's something that is affecting this country of millions and millions of people are living through this kind of situation every day. So I wanted to hear what you guys would have to say, right? Before we get to that, though, right? Just to understand kind of how we process news, right? Because this article is about news. This article is about, looking at politics, right? What is your favorite news program, for example, guys? We're focusing on the word news here, right? For example, my favorite news program is called Farid Zakaria, GPS. It's a guy on CNN. He does many types of international reports. He's very well read. He's very knowledgeable, right? So that's my favorite news program. What about you, Saul? When you watch the news, what do you enjoy watching? Do you have a specific program?
Mm, I don't watch too much television. I always read the news in internet,
Uh-huh.
and I visit a web page called rt.actualidad.com. It's about, I don't know, international news, but with a with a different perspective uh, from, for example, CNN on or those or or those me, means of the United States is different.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think that's great. So honestly, I think that's great. I think it's great to get that other exposure because many times we don't, right? Many times people in the US, some of them are just robots. They listen to whatever they hear on CNN and they believe that to be the truth. They don't investigate, right? So they get one side, they don't get the other sides. Jose, what about you? Do you have a particularly favorite news program, something in particular that you enjoy watching?
Yes, there are some uh, programs that usually we can see on weekends about news, what happened during the week, and some interviews, and there are some journalists that talk what other people don't dare to say. For example, there's a good, don't know if it's the correct translation, not have measures. It's a couple, a male and a female journalist that cover some items very tough and bothering the government as usual. Well, it's easy because
Mm-hmm.
they screw up all the time. But and I love this kind of programs. And
Mm-hmm.
these are very popular in my country. We have 5 or 6 of these programs during the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, interesting. So they actually kind of how many times a week do you guys have this program again, Jose, you said?
It's usually on weekends.
On the weekends, just so just the like Saturday, Sunday.
Yes, Saturday, Sunday. During the week, on weekdays, it's only to read the news. We have a news program, but they only read the news. Sometimes they try to say something, but it's not like these programs on weekends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Awesome. Great to know. Great to know, Jose. And Gregory, what about you? Are there any particularly favorite channels that you have when it comes to news?
I'm afraid disappoint you, Farhan, but I hate news.
Oh, really?
Truly, yes, because I hear only bad news. When I on my radio in the morning, murder and killing and robbery and some different kind of crime, and after that political problems and all this stuff put me in in deep depression, and I don't want to knew it, and I closed. I don't want to hear it. Uh, I know news only from you or other teacher.
Hmm.
Uh,
Interesting.
but
Yeah.
it's coming to me because my wife listened to TV and nothing to do. I'm in the apartment and I'm hear it and people say, and I see people so greedy to news like you, for example. My friends greedy for news. Okay, uh, I in my way, but it's not uh, hinder me when people speak. Uh, and other poet, all my time I mm, learn English, all my free time, and I dedicate to English, to learning.
That's
I don't
awesome. You dedicate your time to English
I
and not the
don't
news.
I don't want to spend time to other things.
Other things. Fantastic. No, it's great. It's the news, unfortunately, many times in the world, it is extremely depressing news, right? When we turn on the news reports, the sensational reports, are the ones that are always presented first, have the most journalists, and a lot of those news reports are talking about problems in society or violence or war or famine or suffering, uh, typhoons, all those kinds of things, right? So it is depressing stuff, Gregory. I completely understand your idea, your point of view. Um, not to rub salt into the wound, guys, but we are going to be talking about a violent piece of news today. But we're gonna investigate the kind of bigger picture. I think we're not going to focus too much on the details. So here's the article, guys. It's a BBC article, so definitely coming from a more uh, you know, established international news agency, right? And it's talking about the violence that we see in Mexico. I am very well aware of the Mexican American population living in San Jose right now, a very, very large population. And Mexico, a lot of Mexicans in the United States, people in the United States pay attention to what's happening in Mexico because they are, a neighbor country, and there are lots of issues that Mexico goes through that affect us here in the United States as well. So let me, guys, quickly, I'm going to shift this article here. You guys should be able to see it now. And let us focus on this article. So 13 Mexicans killed in gun battles in the city of Matamoros, right? So what can we learn about that? What is going on in this country, right? 13 people were killed on Sunday in gun battles in the northern Mexican city of Matamoros in Tamaulipas state, officials say. 12 men and 1 woman were shot dead in 3 separate clashes. In 2 of the incidents, Mexican Marines clashed with armed men, while in the third, suspected members of rival gangs opened fire on each other. Matamoros is on the U.S.-Mexico border in an area disputed by the Gulf and Zetas drug cartels. Right? Any questions, guys? About these first couple of paragraphs? What are they talking about here? What is a drug cartel, guys? What does this word cartel mean?
Cartel is organization, crime organization. No, not crime. Cartel is maybe not crime, but about the drug, it's crime organization to buy drugs.
Yeah, absolutely, Gregory, right? So these folks,
as usually, it's very violent, very dangerous organization.
yeah. And in this case, it's actually even worse because it's not just the drugs fighting or the drug cartels fighting the Marines, right? The Mexican Marines. So these guys, I think, are the Mexican Marines. They're the part of the military, right? Not only are they fighting the Mexican Marines, but you have 2 drug cartels fighting each other, right? Which I think makes the situation even more dangerous because there are these 2 groups, the Gulf cartel and the Zetas drug cartels, right? So they're both fighting for control over the city of Matamoros. 4 men and 1 woman were killed in the first shootout between 2 rival groups on the main highway leading from Matamoros to the city of Reynosa, right? These are all extremely close to the United States, extremely close. The second gun battle happened just hours later on the same highway when members of the Mexican Marine Force gave chase to an armed group and killed 4 of them. What does the phrase "gave chase" mean? Do you guys think?
Hunting?
Yeah, gave chase is to run after, is to follow, or also to chase, right? So if you're chasing after somebody, you are running after them, right? The police always chase the police always chase the criminal, So gave chase is actually just another little bit more advanced way of saying chase or hunt, exactly, Jose. So see how close Matamoros is to Texas? I mean, it's on the border, right? Matamoros is right here, Texas is right here, Brownsville, I think the city of Brownsville, Texas is right here on the tip of Texas. And then Matamoros and then Tamaulipas, right? This is one of the most dangerous areas. This border here, the river here is called the Rio Grande, right? The Rio Grande is one of the most dangerous areas crossing between Mexico and Texas because so many drugs and so many different kinds of cartels operate here. 4 more men were killed in central Matamoros after they opened fire on Marines, officials said. Local media said the weapons and munitions found at the scenes of the shootouts suggested they belonged to organized crime groups, right? What does munitions mean, guys?
Ammunitions, man.
Yeah, exactly. Ammunition or munition, right? So the weapons and the bullets and all the other stuff, right, that they found, they were able to quickly determine that this had to be some kind of organized crime group. It wasn't just some, normal, guy with his guns. It was a much more organized system. Any questions, guys, about this stuff this section so far?
No.
Okay, makes sense. So let's read a little bit more about the Zetas and the Gulf Cartel, right? So the Zetas and the Gulf cartels have battled for years to control the lucrative smuggling routes through Matamoros, which is across the border from Brownsville, Texas. Excuse me, guys. Mexican forces in July and August captured the head of the Zetas, Miguel Ángel Trevino Morales, and the head of the Gulf Cartel, Mario Ramirez Trevino, right? So both of the heads of these two groups, guys, right? Both of these mega criminal masterminds, right? The head of the Zetas and the head of the Gulf Cartel were arrested in July and August, right? Um, so one question for you guys, right? In these two paragraphs, what does the word lucrative mean here?
Make profit.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So,
Profitable.
yeah, profitable, exactly. Profitable, lucrative, right? Some way that allows you to make money, right? Something that is lucrative allows you to make money. So, Jose, I have a question for you. Why do you think Matamoros is such a lucrative place for these drug cartels?
Because it's a path for for the smuggling. It's a route for smuggling.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
like to control that route.
exactly. Because what's north of Matamoros, right? You have Texas. So the United States is just north of Matamoros. If you control Matamoros, then you can control maybe all of the drugs that enter the southern part of Texas, right? And America has a huge drug market, huge drug problem. So any drug cartel that can get their hands on Matamoros can control Texas, and slowly they can send their drugs all over the country, right? So it's a very big deal, guys, especially when there's so much money. I mean, millions and millions of dollars, right? So after in July and August, Miguel and Mario were both arrested. Analysts had predicted a rise in violence as cartel members tried to fill the vacuum left by their leaders. What does this paragraph mean, guys? Sal, what does it mean, actually? I'll let all of you guys try.
Mm, they want to control the territory that the leader left behind.
Yeah, very good point, right? So they're saying another interesting thing about this is they're saying they try to fill the vacuum left by their leaders. Have you guys ever heard the phrase a power vacuum? Jose, have you heard the word power vacuum before?
Yes, well, don't know if it's the same, but I heard that the power doesn't emit vacuum. So once
Yeah,
it is empty, you need to fill it at once, or
ex
someone will try.
100% correct, Jose, 100% correct, right? So now without these two leaders, right, the gangs are fighting each other. Maybe the gangs are fighting within themselves to figure out who the leader should be, right? Really, really dangerous situation. And last but not least, such a sad statistic, more than 77,000 people are estimated to have been killed in drug violence in Mexico since the then president Felipe Calderón launched a war against the cartels in late 2006. And this war, guys, the war against drugs, right, is a multi-billion-dollar war that, so many of the people around the world are saying that enough is enough. We need to figure out a different strategy because it's just not working, right? It's this idea of um, you know, having this drug cartel or this war on drugs is just not going to succeed, right? The It's a fight that we can't win, is what a lot of people say. Um, I wanted to get your opinion, guys, about that, right? 77,000 people have been killed, estimated, since 2006, right? Is there a way to end the drug war in Central America and in South America, or is it something that we can't win? What do you think, Gregory?
If you say young people in America use the drugs, so they need the drugs, and
Mm-hmm.
when they need the drugs, it's always something going to try to sell them the drugs. But I think I'm sure the normal people should be fine against this situation and not to be this disaster to be mm, uh, more and stronger.
Yeah,
Uh,
there is.
People, the policy and the officials and government should be fine against this. Surely, it's
Yeah,
clear.
there's a huge demand for drugs in the U.S., right, Gregory? So absolutely, you're absolutely correct that as long as there is a demand, there will be a supply, right? And those willing to risk the most, as much as they can, the higher the risk, the more gain that they are getting, right? So
The
I mean,
young people not understand the how it's dangerous the drug. When you begin, you cannot stop, uh, and it's a big tragedy for this man and for his family. Uh, but young people not understand this.
mhm.
Unfortunately,
Young people are very headstrong. They don't realize what's good for them. They rebel. They do their own thing, and many times they make the wrong decisions. So uh, it's a sad but true kind of way that we live in this society, at least. Jose, what do you think? As your perspective, I think someone who has maybe studied this or has lived through different kinds of people or has lived through different kinds of different governments in Peru, I think, that have had this problem with drugs. What would you
Yeah,
say?
well, unfortunately, in my country, we're the main producer in the entire world of this leaf, cocaine leaf, and we're starting to produce cocaine. I mean, to process this leaf, and this activity is increasing day by day, very fast, and many cartels are coming. People from Mexico involved in drugs and drugs activity are coming to my country. Well, it's very tough. For example, I was very tough about this attempt to totally forbid the drugs and to pursue anyone who is involved in this industry. But now we can see that it doesn't matter the efforts that we use, or well, it doesn't matter our efforts. It has no effects in this industry. So don't know. For example, in when we had to deal with alcoholism, we had alcoholics, and we will have alcoholics anyway. But now we're not fighting against alcohol producers. Don't know if it's time to give a chance, if it's time to try it out, to do the same with drugs. So we will have drug addicts anyway, but we won't fight against drug dealers. Only focus on help these people, help these people out,
Hmm.
and maybe these producers will stop fighting each others and produce uh, a good quality product. Uh, yes, if you want to buy it, well, buy it, a good product. But don't know, only if it doesn't work, well, we can resume the fight. We can resume fighting with drug dealers. But I think that we should try a new strategy.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so sad because the billions of dollars that have been spent on the war on drugs, it started with the Clinton administration, maybe even before Clinton, there was this idea of we will have a war on drugs. And honestly, I have no idea how much it helped in the United States. I think the drug problem is even worse than when it began, right? Because, I mean, like these criminals are not afraid of anything, really, I think that they're a fearless enemy, right? They are a fearless enemy. They know the stakes. They know what's at risk, right? They know their entire families sometimes are involved, right? So they have every reason to be as fanatical about their business as anybody else is about their family or their livelihood, right? And that's why, I mean, it's not just a one-man machine. It's an entire industry financed, armed, controlled. Governments sometimes are involved, right? I mean, many different governments have been tied to Los Zetas. Politicians are involved, in these kinds of things. So it's a very big mess, unfortunately, right? Um, Saul, what do you think? You'll have the last word because we're almost out of time. Is there any solution to this problem, or even a step-by-step solution? Is there any way that we can implement something like that?
Mm, I have a divided opinion because I know that the drugs are bad and the cartel and the violence of the cartel and all the stuff. But recently I read an article that talk about the war against drugs is not working in the world because the drug is still in the market, even are are cheaper and there are a lot of cartel, more cartel, more type of drugs. So all the money that the government spent in the war is not working. So I guess the solution is, from my perspective, is take all this money and educate the young people. Uh, Educate all the children and to keep them as study and the university and school. I guess that is the correct way to fight against the drug because the actual drug war, even the last, I don't know, 30 decades, it's no it's not working. You see the drugs in the street anyway. The drug dealer always will be in will be in the in the street as long as um, have uh, consumers. So we need to educate our children uh, to educate our children to not become a, con, a consumer
Hmm.
because it's a lot of money spent in the world of drugs. A lot. You can, I don't know how, I guess 3,000 million dollars against in the world of drugs. You can spend that money in education.
Yeah, because if they lose that spark, right, young people, if they have no reason to have an interest in drugs, or then the demand falls, who knows? I mean, but it's difficult. It's difficult. I think education is making some changes, but not sure how much it can continue because people also join the drug business because they need their societies are so poor and they don't offer them any meaningful way of earning a living, right? In some societies, the kids join the drug trade not to become drug addicts, but because the drug trade is the only real job. I mean, if you want money, if you want security, then join a cartel. You know, as long as you are a loyal employee, you keep your mouth shut, you do your work, you you know you work for the company, you work for your boss, things are okay, right? The second you say anything against your boss or you start doing something that's crazy, they won't hesitate to kill you, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very tough, Sometimes people join because of the money, people join because so many things, they can't leave, they stay, more violence. At the end of the day, it's tough, very, very tough. But Salah, I do like what you're saying about education. In the United States, actually, we have a program called DARE. All the elementary students actually have this program, and it's DARE stands for. Oh, I actually typed it in the other chat window, guys, by mistake. But DARE, it stands for drugs, alcohol, um, and something. Actually, I forgot the full acronym, but it's a program that is geared towards young people to teach them that it's very bad to be in drugs. It's very bad to get associated with drug abuse resistance education. That's what it stands for. Drug abuse resistance education. And it starts very young. It tells people don't do this kind of stuff, right? And I think definitely it's made changes, but we are still losing so many people to drugs. I mean, it's sad, and it's sad how many smart people do drugs. How many smart young people do drugs. And like in my university, people who are my friends, they were doing drugs all the time. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. The point of this program is reduce the future consumers
hmm
in that
Yeah, to stop
way.
those future, to stop the
Yeah.
future consumers. Yeah, if you decrease the popularity now, then hopefully people will not, will stay away as much as possible from these kinds of things in the future.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, guys, I enjoyed the class. We talked a lot about sad things. Unfortunately, looked at some subject-verb agreement types of situations. Did you guys have any questions about anything we looked at? Any of the words, the article itself, or anything like that?
This was nice. This was very good class because it was easy and I understand it all.
Awesome,
Uh,
fantastic. Great to
and
have you guys.
a lot of discussion is what I looking for.
Yeah, that's my focus, guys. From now on, I'll try as much as I can, even if the class is shorter, to focus on as much discussion as possible. So, yeah. I have another class
One.
starting now, guys. But yeah, go ahead, Sol, yeah.
mm,
Did you want to say something, Sol?
Okay,
I think we're okay,
bye,
guys.
bye,
Yeah,
bye.
take care, guys. Have a good rest of the night then. I wasn't sure if you guys have any questions, but take care, Jose and Sol. I'll see you guys soon.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Take care, Jose. Bye-bye, Sol. Hey, Gregory, how's it going?
Hello, Farhan. Nice to see you.
Yep, nice to
Just a
see you.
moment. I'm going to change the browser.
Sure,
Uh,
sure. No problems. There was a problem with the Google Hangouts, which is why it took me time.
okay, I'm here.
Welcome. Welcome back. Yeah. Now I was saying there was a problem with the Google Hangouts. They were telling me Hangout already started, something like that. So it was difficult to join, but
I
I'm glad
guess
you
the
made it.
situation it happened not the first time for you.
Yeah, yeah. It's something that causes big problems for us, but yeah, how was your day, Gregory? How's everything going?
Okay, I have class with Joe, and it was very hard for me because he's from Texas, and different accents, and cautiously understand him. Um, I used to understand you and James, two teachers, but
Uh-huh.
I know I I have tried to other teachers uh, because understand different accents, not
Yeah.
only not only specific.
Different accents take time, Gregory, absolutely. I mean, even people who have lived in the United States for maybe 10, 15 years, they are used to. So they were partly similar. People maybe understood, some didn't understand, others. Makes sense. That's actually very interesting. I had a friend in school many years ago. One of the girls in my high school class was from Ukraine. And I mean, very beautiful girl. We all knew her because of her beauty, but I never got a chance to learn about Ukraine. I think she was from Kiev. Um, Maybe she spent some time there, maybe a few years, and then she came here. So her accent was still, she had a Ukrainian accent, a little bit, slight Ukrainian accent when she spoke English. But it was a really nice experience to have that different kind of different cultures in our high school. So that's all I know. Maybe one day I can visit. Yeah, Ukraine. I think it's easier to see than
It's a
Russia.
very big country. Uh,
Uh,
this area more than three France.
oh wow, such a big country.
Big country. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, Gregory. Jose, how's it going? Welcome, man.
Hello, Farhan. Hello, Gregory. How you doing?
Hello,
Sorry
Jose.
for the interruption.
Oh no,
um,
that's fine. I was having trouble with Google Hangouts. I was pressing start Hangout, and it wasn't doing anything until maybe 10 minutes. So if you guys were trying to log in, I really apologize for that. But yeah, Jose, how's life going? How are things in Lima?
yeah, everything's okay. We're starting the spring. We are leaving the cold at least. Now
Hmm.
that's why everybody's getting happy.
Especially, I think. Well, would you say you speak Russian with an accent from Moscow
Is
then?
I was born in Ukraine,
Uh-huh.
in city Donetsk, and
Uh-huh.
we speak Russian in this city, but it was no, not so Russian. It was something in this area, a little bit Ukraine Russian.
Uh-huh.
And when I go to Moscow and live in Moscow, it was hard to me to change my accent to perfect Russian. In Moscow, it's perfect. It's standard.
Yeah, but I think Ukrainian is still closely related to Russian, right?
Now it's independent, completely independent. In Soviet Union, it was one of republic, but very big republic, and they have um, no powerful.
Yeah. No, but
Always.
But I think the Ukrainian language, though, right, Gregory, is the Ukrainian language similar to the Russian language? Or
Yes, it's similar. It's very close. It's the same roots,
uh-huh.
but no, not so similar. They understand each other,
Levels.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Gregory. I'm sorry.
For Spanish understand Portuguese, like something
Uh-huh.
like that, but not so much.
Yeah.
Everybody's drinking.
Everybody's drinking.
Sadly, yeah, people like to drink here, to drink here, and they use any kind of excuses. Now, now they drink because the spring is starting.
Really.
Cheers!
I would imagine people would not drink in the spring because you can go outside, you can have different activities.
Yeah, but they drink anyway.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't matter the
What
excuse.
what's he drinking?
Only
Whiskey?
beer. No, beer,
Ah,
beer. People
beer.
people loves beer here, and some of them drink. We have a national drink. It's called pisco.
It's
It's
called
like,
pisco.
yeah, for example, in Russia they have vodka. There's another, don't know where's the whiskey, and we have the pisco. Pisco, it's very ancient um liquor or drink here,
From
but
what it's making? From
it's it's made on grapes.
rice?
No, grapes.
Ah,
Talking about.
grapes. Ah,
Yes, and for example, maybe 15 years ago, the people, well, we used to drink a lot of pisco, but they didn't, uh, they didn't took this as a big deal. People thought that was a drink for poor men, but now the people have found the important that it is this.
Who always speaking English and hearing other people speak English, even they have a difficult time when it comes to accents like the accent from Texas and some other
from state
states.
to other state. Yeah, I
Yeah, yeah,
understand this.
yeah. Especially in the South, also in the South, so near Texas, we have a bunch of other states. The one is Alabama, then there are a few other states in we say the deep South of the United States. They really have
You have problem with your traveling now, with your movement from states to states, no?
No, no, it's okay for me. No big problems. Just I guess I'm used to I'm used to the accents, but maybe for people who like my parents, for example, they didn't grow up here.
Hmm.
So for them, they have a difficult time, for example, understanding someone from Texas. My mom maybe will not be able to understand someone from Texas. Even though she speaks English fluently, she would always be confused. So yeah, we have differences when it comes to different accents like
I
that.
understand that when I live in Soviet Union, I was born in Ukraine and we speak Russian in our city. But when I come to Moscow, it was almost different. And I changed my accent because I was young and it was easy for me.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but now very hard. You know how you old is more difficult.
Yeah,
All
it gets much
changes,
older.
except all changes in the environment is very difficult
Yeah,
with
yeah.
with age.